lounging, son.
Welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name is Ryan, and that's right, another Marvel book this week. Bunch of great Marvel stuff came out this week, but now I'm talking, much like I talked last week for Fall of X, I'm talking Rise of the Powers of 10 by Kieron Gillen and R.B. Silva. So you can see that we got this unique team of mutants. We have this Iron Man. We have Kamala Khan as Captain Krakoa. We have Shadowcat, who's actually referred to as Shadow Tiger. We got Wolverine and Synch, who's like in a Professor X type wheelchair, floating wheelchair. Lot to talk about with this one, but before I get into it, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. If you are subscribed, thank you for all your support. The likes, the comments, they mean a ton to us. Make sure you check out all the dope content on the channel. Bunch of awesome stuff, single issues, hardcovers, artist editions, interviews, indie creator spotlights, all that good stuff. So we got it all here, daily YouTube channel. So there's always some good content coming out. Now let's get into this. This one was a little bit confusing, and I have to say it was kind of like Powers of 10 that confused me, at least in the beginning. Like it kind of all flowed once you had all the information, because this one, like that one, was set in a different time than House of X was. And just like Fall of X is set in the present, this one is set in a different time. This is 10 years in the future. Tower of Nimrod, the Lesser, the human machine monolith on Earth. And we see just fucking everything is destroyed. We see Nimrod with the Omega Sentinel teaming up, and they're talking about the Trickster Dominion. And I don't know if maybe there's some stuff that Fall of X was a little bit easier to read. This one I feel like maybe I'm missing some pieces based on some of the other X-Men books that preceded this. And I've already gone back and read Immortal X-Men, the first volume, which was phenomenal. Got to get the other trades that have come out so I can catch up. But, you know, like I said in the Fall of X video, I'm a little behind on the overall X-Men line. Wolverine's something I paid attention to, and then here and there, you know, bits and pieces I've read. But this one, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of mystery of a possible future. Tomorrow everything changes. Tomorrow we meet our new god. Tomorrow we become our god. I don't know exactly what this event is. I'll read this little recap that they have, though. You know, tired of years of oppression, bigotry, mutant kind on an offshoot. This kind of talks about, right here, it talks a little bit about, you know, the birth of Krakoa. It talks about Mr. Sinister and his betrayal of them, because he was on their, you know, on the Quiet Council, and really he multiplied himself, and they discovered Sinister was unknowingly one of 4 clones made out to become the dominant power in the universe. And the Council confronted the problems of the system they had built into their nation. They realized that the only way for their people to continue in the face of the ills the Council had overseen was for the Council to step down and give way to new leadership. Unfortunately, Orchis, this organization, has come to strike mutant kind down. And now it's 10 years later. Every attempt by mutant kind to come back from their fall has failed. Still, what remains of the X-Men fight on. And that's something that's always true. With the X-Men, they constantly will always get back up and continue to fight. Now we get back to Mystique. She's communicating with someone named X. You know, Emma's sacrificial distraction worked, so she's gone. We're at the Henry Gyrich Memorial Detention Center. What is that? Have no clue. Like, this is the stuff that I kind of dig, where like you kind of like will find out throughout this miniseries, is what I'm assuming. And then Gambit comes in, and I love this. You know, you were a good son-in-law despite everything. You made Rogue very happy. And he sacrifices himself to get her out. Got these Stark Sentinels going back in. You know, Mystique's running towards it. Irene, I'm coming. And she sacrifices herself as well. And then we get Synch, who's now referred to as the Professor. Iron Man is just an AI imprint of a long-dead Tony Stark in his final suit. Kamala Khan, a.k.a. Ms. Marvel, is now Captain Krakoa. And Kate Pryde has now become Shadow Tiger after consuming the Death Seed. Unique team of X-Men, which I love. And then we jump and we're on the Orchis Forge in deep space. We get, you know, Moira McTaggart, who, if you don't know enough about this, or if you don't know a ton about what her place in the Krakoa Age was, that, you know, every time she dies, the universe resets. That's her mutant power. And she has 10 lives, and she's on her 10th. And then, you know, they're talking about a lot of stuff that I feel like I would benefit if I went back and read some of this stuff. But, you know, they're talking about a Dominion, which I think is like if I remember correctly from Hickman, I think is like the most powerful of mutants. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. I don't exactly remember. It's been a while since I read that stuff. But we have this team of X-Men. They've broken into Phobos, which is this Orchis facility. And all the while, we see Moira, Omega Sentinel, and Nimrod seeing what's taking place. And then we get Stasis, who was another one of Nathaniel Essex, aka Mr. Sinister's clones. And he's like, you know, if you can't beat them, join them. And if we can't beat them, or he's like, as if we can't beat them. And then, dude, they're just getting taken out. Shadow Tiger, she's taken care of. Who's next to join Krakoa in the grave? And Nimrod just like laying it to him. And then we see World Mind initiation, World Mind stable, World Mind attempting contact, World Mind contact achieved. Dominion arrives. Just hello, God. And then we see what the Vault, which was introduced in the Hickman X-Men stuff, and they took technology from 1,000 years in the future, and they brought it to the present. And they have this AI that's all of the greatest minds of the Marvel Universe. You can see Tony Stark there. At least that's who I take it as. Mr. Fantastic, I think. Shuri. And they created this AI to basically solve, you know, their own problems. And I gotta say, the only thing is with this one that I feel like you kind of have to read some of the stuff that came prior, because this one I think there's a lot of, I don't want to say deep cuts, but there's a lot of stuff that probably was laid out in some of the other X-Men books. So while this was a fun read, I think it's not necessarily as accessible if you have not been caught up, or if you're not caught up on the current X-Men stuff. Still fun book though, beautifully drawn. R.B. Silva returns. You know, he was on, you know, the original House and Powers Hickman stuff. So cool to see, you know, Kamala Khan is a mutant now. We see Sync, he's able to take different powers. That's what he does. And he's like, remember Apocalypse? I do. Here's a reminder. Fucking lays out Nimrod. The world is ending, and they're risking everything on one last fastball special where Reed says Kate Pryde is able to phase people with this new, you know, the evolution of her power. And Wolverine goes straight into this like cell where Mr. Sinister is. And he thinks he's going to get out with Wolverine. Nope. Wolverine guts him. And then we got this Dominion thing going on again. Their god, quote unquote. I saw somewhere online that somebody referred to him as maybe being Professor X. Not entirely sure. But definitely has the same symbol as Mr. Sinister here. Or a similar one. He has the club. He has the king. So not really sure if that means anything. Refers to himself as Enigma. Get Rasputin 4. Which was, you know, she was created by Mr. Sinister. And so she's come back from the present to attack. So a lot of different stuff going on here. And then we end this with a chart, which is, you know, in every single X-Men book. I guess it wasn't in the new Wolverine issue this week, but for the most part, the X-Men line has all these notes, and we talk about, you know, the Stasis timeline, Sinister timeline, all this stuff, because Mr. Sinister cloned Moira so that he could keep restarting the universe whenever he wanted. I did read that in Immortal X-Men Volume 1, so I think that volume is definitely beneficial. I think that is probably the most important title, especially because it's written by Kieron Gillen as well as this book. And then we see, you know, her 1 through 9 lives. Her gift activates at age 13. And so you kind of get like the whole background of that. And then we see this place, No Place X. And this is where Professor X is with Cypher and with Rasputin 4. And they're talking about, you know, their contingency plan and what they're going to do. And we see 2 of the characters are blacked out. So all we know about is Professor X right now, Cypher, Rasputin 4. You know, the whole timeline falling apart, the Dominion ceases to be, it's cut off at the foot. How? If they kill Moira before she's 13, all of it will go away. Krakoa will never have been and never will be. And that's where we end. Get the checklist of, you know, where to follow through on the rest of this Fall of the House of X storyline. Fun comic, but I'm being honest, not as accessible as, you know, the concurrent series that's running on this, but doesn't mean I'm not going to continue to pick it up. I was here for the beginning of this Krakoa Age. I kind of want to see how it all ends. So if you too picked up the beginning and you want to see how it ends, I highly recommend jumping into these 2 titles. And while you're at it, make sure you like, follow, subscribe, hit that bell icon so you're notified every time a new video drops. And on that note, I'm out.